After waiting basically the entire year for the launch of Nintendo Switch 2, just last month, the console finally launched, and of course with it, we had the launch of the greatest game of all time, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. This game right here absolutely changed my life. But no, seriously, today I wanted to just kind of take a look back at the first month of Nintendo Switch 2 and just kind of give my thoughts on everything that happened this month and just everything I've played this month. And like I said, give my thoughts on it. This is going to be kind of a little weird video here. I want to kind of do this every month of the Switch 2's life and just talk about the console, talk about what happened during the month and my thoughts on everything. But obviously, we're going to first talk about the console itself. I already made a whole review, or I guess first impression video on the Nintendo Switch 2. And honestly, my opinions on the console kind of remain the same. If you want to see more detail on what I think about the console, you can go check out that video. But all in all, this console I think is great. It did a lot of things to improve on what the original Switch set out to do, and it just made things a lot better. It feels really nice to hold. It's a really quality build, obviously with the improvements of like 1080p screen and the 4K resolution when they dock. This console is just far more superior from the Switch, and as I've already mentioned before, the Nintendo Switch is probably one of my favorite consoles of all time. So the fact that this is essentially just the Switch but a whole lot better makes this probably, as you can guess, one of my favorite consoles of all time. I don't really have anything else to mention about the console. Like I said, I think that this console is great despite having a couple flaws like, no themes, at least yet. Other than that though, this console has been great. Along the same lines, we also got the Pro Controller, which I also talked about in that original Nintendo Switch 2 First Impressions video, and my opinion on this controller has not changed. I still think that this is one of the greatest controllers that Nintendo has ever produced, and just one of the greatest controllers of all time. It feels really high quality to hold. The additions of the GR buttons on the back here are nice because, like, especially in like Mario Kart, it's nice to be able to, for me anyways, I have rewind as the GL button here, so that when I'm playing in single player in the open world, I can just easily get to that instead of having to push down on the D-pad, so it's more accessible. And then I also have the GR button set to my acceleration button. That way I am also able to control the camera with the right joystick while also being able to accelerate. I just think that the build of this thing is great. It feels really quality. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels really good. It's kind of hard to go back to the original Switch Pro Controller after playing on this one. Even though it's kind of essentially the same thing, but it's not at the same time. It just feels a whole lot better than the original one, and I thought that was great. So just like how the Switch 2 is an improvement on the Switch 1 in all areas, the Switch 2 Pro Controller is a better version of the Switch 1 Pro Controller. It just feels great. If you don't have your hands on one of these yet and you have a Switch 2, what are you doing? Go pick this up now, even though it is a pretty hefty price tag. I think it's worth it. Now I want to talk about a couple of the games that I've been playing on Switch 2 for the first month. Obviously the one I've been playing the most is Mario Kart World. Price tag aside, I've also made a first impressions video on this game. I still have about the same opinions, I feel, because it's only been about a month since this game came out. I don't think my opinion has changed too much. I think that despite the $80 price tag, this game is worth it, at least in my opinion. I think I've gotten my $80 worth. I love the open world of the game so far. While it does have some problems here and there, I love the open world of this game. The way that characters are unlocked is a whole thing. I can go on a whole tangent about it, and I do want to make a review on this game later on. But for now, I'm going to kind of keep it brief. While this game has some flaws, especially with a recent update removing the ability to play 3-lap tracks online, which I made a whole video about, this game is probably one of my favorite Mario Kart games of all time. The core gameplay is great with all the new additions of like the rail grinding, the charge jump, being able to drive on walls. That is all great stuff. The Grand Prix and intermission stuff, it's not bad. I like the intermissions for the most part. I think that they are interesting and definitely change up the gameplay a little bit. I just do wish that there was a way to, especially online, to turn those off and just be able to play the original 3 tracks. Because I think that the track structure, or just the tracks in this game, are some of the best that they've made in the entire series. The 3 laps are some of the best that we've seen in the entire series. And I just wish that there was a better way to play it outside of just playing versus in rooms with friends or just playing versus offline. I just wish that there was a way to play these more online, because I think that Mario Kart really peaks in its online, and the fact that we don't have the ability to play those tracks online, it just kind of sucks. I'm rambling a little bit too much about online here. Besides that, Knockout Tour, I played a little bit of it. It's pretty fun. I don't think it's as game-changing as everyone makes it out to be. I enjoy it, but especially when you're playing it for long periods of time, it does feel a little bit repetitive, at least when you're doing the tours and stuff. I haven't played Knockout Tour online yet. I'm still yet to do that, but from what I played of it, I've enjoyed it. It's a fun time, great stuff. And then the only thing that there really is outside of obviously the time trials, which we all know what time trials is. It's just Mario Kart time trials. We have the battle mode, which, as I said in my first impressions video, that stuff was underwhelming. I think that the battle mode in this is definitely a huge downgrade from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but, you know, you can only go down from peak, so unfortunately, battle mode suffered the most in this game, but as a package, I think that Mario Kart World is a great game. And like I said, I do want to make a full review on this game later on, so stay tuned for that. The other game that also came out at launch that wasn't a Switch 2 version, or Switch 2 edition, was Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. And I've also made a video on my first impressions on that. I haven't really touched it much since, so I'm going to keep that brief, because if you want to see more of my opinions on the game, you can go check out that video. I know, I'm just plugging a lot of videos here. For being a $10 basically tech demo that should have been free, I think that this game was pretty fun. It has little quizzes in there, which, you know, whatever, quizzes. I don't care too much for quizzes. But, like, the little mini-games and the little tech demos in there, they're a lot of fun. I definitely think that this is a great way to learn more about the console. But, at the same time, since this is, as the name implies, a welcome tour to the Nintendo Switch 2, I don't really see you playing this much beyond, like, your first couple days or your first couple like times of playing the console. This is like one of those games where you play it once and you never touch it again, which is really unfortunate. I think that as a package, it's a pretty decent title. I'm not going to say that this is anything game-changing or anything. It's a little novelty for the Switch 2. I really do wish that it was a pack-in title, but you know what? $10 isn't bad for this thing. For what it sets out to do, I think that it does a pretty good job. I think what it offers is pretty fun stuff. And it also offers a good way to learn about the console. If you have any questions about the console, it's pretty much everything you can have to ask about the console. It'll be answered in this game. And I just think that for that, this game is pretty good. And if you have like $10 to spend and you don't know what to spend it on, and if you want to know more about your Switch 2, this is a pretty good game to pick up. The other first-party offerings on Switch 2 at launch were The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Switch 2 editions. And while I haven't really touched these too much because these are games that have been on the Switch for a couple years now, especially for Tears, and 8 years now with Breath of the Wild, I think that what they offer is some pretty good stuff. I don't think that the mobile app functionality stuff is like anything too crazy. It is useful. I did test it out a little bit recently on Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition. I haven't really used them too much though because, as I've said, I haven't really played these games too much on Switch 2 because we've been able to play these games for a couple years now. But from what I played of them, these games feel practically like completely different games than they were on the Switch because you have like the stable frame rate, you have better frame rate, you have the games looking a lot better, running a lot better, and for that, I think that these games are worthy of the upgrades. Am I saying that you should buy them physically like I did if you own them both? Probably not. I'm just a collector. I like collecting physical games, which is why I spent $150 for these two games alone at launch. What they offer, I think that they should have been just free updates, but whatever. They wanted to charge for the mobile app functionality, and if you've used that and you've found it helpful, which I'm sure a lot of people have, that's great stuff. I think that they're going to be helpful. I just had to play these games a bit more for me to find them helpful, but the Zelda Note stuff is fine enough, I guess you could say. You've already heard the stories about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're some of Nintendo's best games. They're just even better on Switch 2 because of the upgrades. Enough said. What I also want to talk about when I do these videos is kind of the other games that I picked up that I haven't like played a lot of yet, but I want to get to eventually. This time around, we got a total of 5. I picked up Cyberpunk, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, Sonic X Shadow Generations, Street Fighter 6, and Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. All these games I do want to eventually play. Cyberpunk is like one of the only games at launch that was also on a physical cartridge, and I've been wanting to try out Cyberpunk for a little while. I've heard that's a really great game, so that's why I picked it up. I also wanted to support the developers because, you know, this game is, as I mentioned, one of the only ones that come on an actual cartridge instead of a game key card, which we'll get into when we talk about these games here. But I've been meaning to get into Cyberpunk. This was the 4th game that I got, first game I got after launch. Still yet to play it. I definitely want to try it out, as I've mentioned. I'll definitely get on that eventually. As for the other games, Puyo Puyo is like probably one of the cheapest of the games that were available at launch for Switch 2. And I've heard great things about Puyo Puyo Tetris on Switch, and I've been meaning to try a Puyo Puyo Tetris game. I mean, it's just little puzzle games. So I was like, you know what, why not? This is a little harmless fun that I could pick up for, I think it was like $40, which wasn't bad. Again, the game keycard thing kind of sucks. I don't see why this is a game that should be on a game keycard, but that's besides the point. As for the other 3 games, Sonic X Shadow Generations is the only one I've actually like played, but I haven't played it on the Switch 2 yet. But I did play this through Steam when the game came out. Honestly, this is probably like one of my favorite games that came out last year. If you haven't played Sonic X Shadow Generations, you should go check it out. Shadow Generations was such a good game. And again, I hate that this is a game keycard, but that's whatever. I do want to try this out again on Switch 2 though, because I know that the Switch version was functional but I've heard that the Switch 2 version is a whole lot better. I do wish, though, that for those of us that did buy this on the Switch, that there was a free upgraded version, or like an upgrade, like you can buy it for $10 or whatever for the game for Switch 2, because for some reason Sega just did not have that as an option. If you want to play Sonic X Shadow Generations on Switch 2, and even though you already own it on the Switch, you have to go ahead and buy this game again, which was kind of stupid, but you know what, whatever. As for Yakuza, I've heard a lot of good things about Yakuza, especially Yakuza 0. I've heard it's like a phenomenal game, and I definitely want to try it out sometime. Do I know much about it? No, but I do want to expand my horizons of just expand the games, the type of games I play on Switch to this generation. So I figured that Yakuza would be a good one to do, because again, I've heard great things about it. I have a couple friends that said that this is like a phenomenal game, so I'm going to take their word for it. I'm definitely looking forward to trying this one out eventually. And Street Fighter 6. I've wanted to try a Street Fighter game. I've played like a little bit of Street Fighter, but not a lot. I definitely want to get into the series a bit more. And I think that Switch 2 would be a good way to do so, because like I've said, I've been trying to expand my horizons on what I play this generation. I don't want to just stick to Mario, Zelda, and Kirby. I want to kind of expand on what I play, so you know what? We'll add that to the collection. But yeah, with that, we have a total of 8 games so far on the Switch 2 that I've picked up. 9 if you want to count Welcome Tour. And honestly, I'm excited for what the future of this console has to hold. This month as well, we got the announcement of the release dates for Drag X Drive and Pokemon Legends ZA. I think Drag X Drive comes out August 20th. I could be wrong about that. And then Pokemon Legends ZA comes out on October 16th. So we have a good bit of stuff to look forward to. I'm just surprised we didn't get a Nintendo Direct this month, because every June we get some sort of Direct, but we just didn't this month. And for the things that I thought would be in Directs, like the release dates of Drag X Drive or Pokemon Legends ZA, they just announced them on Nintendo today. So what's the future for Nintendo Directs? I don't know. I'm hoping that we get one sometime in July. With that being said, that's my thoughts on the first month on Nintendo Switch 2 and just kind of everything I've played and everything that like has come out for the console. And my thoughts on everything. If you have differing opinions, let me know down in the comments. I'm interested in what's your favorite game that you've played so far in Switch 2? What's your least favorite? What are your thoughts on the console? Just let me know. But with that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Cristendo, signing off. And as always, goodbye, Nub Nation.